Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to my live stream. Thank you for joining. I'm Joe on Joe on a Mission, and I tell scary stories, paranormal stories. So yeah, turn off the lights and get cozy. It's midnight right now. So yeah, I'll read some stories. Put you to bed. Sleepy time. All right, I got this one. It's pretty good. I liked it. It reads, here is a somewhat scary story that happened to my brother and I when we were little. It was probably about 2020, year 2020. My brother was about 8 or 9, and I was about 17. So it was a night like any other. We had eaten dinner earlier. And I was laying in bed for a bit, trying to get to sleep, when all of a sudden I hear a short, soft cry, which eventually turned into screaming. I turned over to find out that it's my brother. Now I had thought that he'd just had a bad dream or something like that. But then he stared at the corner. But then he stared at the corner of the room and pointed. The screaming then got more intense. He kept screaming about a big red clown and how it was gonna kill him. Of course, I got my dad and told him about it. And then he just thought it was that scared of the dark crap again. And then I saw the expression on his face change as soon as he stepped into the room. His face went from annoyed to slightly concerned. He eventually calmed my brother down and put him to sleep. And when he walked out and said goodnight, of course, I couldn't sleep, but eventually I did. Later that night, I woke up thinking it was 6 a.m. and I had to get up for school, but then I looked at the clock and realized it was only 1 a.m. By then, I had forgotten the events of earlier that night, and I got up to get a glass of water and used the bathroom. And then I went back off to bed. Back then I had a bed where the headboard was actually a bookcase, if you can imagine that, so I could put stuff on top of it. And what I had on top of there back then was an old radio, so I could fall asleep to music. This radio had this light, a bright blue light that actually illuminated most of my room and the hallway where my bed was at the time. It was facing the doorway, so I could easily look up and see the hallway. So anyway, I got back from the bedroom and just felt weird. So I looked up at the hallway, and what I saw made me freeze. All I remember is seeing some really short thing with a wide football shaped head and these big black eyes with these weird elephant type ears and a big ear to ear grin just peeking around the corner at me. What really made this feel so real is the fact that I thought I could see the blue from the radio reflecting on its big black eyes. That entire night I hid under the covers, shivering in fear. What up, Will Edit? Will Edit says, can you give me a shout out? What's up? Rebecca says hi. What up? How you doing? That entire night, I hid under the covers, shivering in fear, and I kept thinking I felt something slowly tugging on the blanket, trying to take it off. It really could have been just been my imagination or the fact that I was half asleep, but just typing the story years later, it still gives me the chills. And later I found out that that look of concern from my father that night was because he went into the same corner my brother had screamed the clown was. And when he did, he got an awful feeling. He told me this years later, and he also asked me when he told me this, why I was looking into my room like that so early in the morning. As you could have guessed, this was absolutely chilling because it proves that there was at least something there that night. My brother doesn't remember any of it, but I do. I can still imagine that face staring back at me as clear as day. Honestly, it sounds like some made-up story, but this actually happened to me. Sure, it could have been anything, but it's something that still creeps me out to this day. Yeah, I just got on a few, like 5 minutes ago. I just went live 5 minutes ago. Yeah, buddy. It's 11:20. I mean 12:20 a.m. where I'm at. What time is it where you're at? I'm in Texas. Where are you at? Yes, sir. Yeah, boy. I got a few paranormal stories of my own. I typically read stories that I find online. But if you have some of your own, let me know. And I could read them out loud. Got this one other story. This one was alright. It reads, I watched my grandparents fish from a distance. But something always felt off. Grandpa focused on his line, waiting for a bite, while Grandma never looked at the water. Instead, she stared across the lake at the dark woods, as if she were waiting for something. That summer I stayed with them at their house by the lake. Grandpa was quiet and practical, full of stories from his military days. Grandma was different. She could spin endless stories from magical adventures to the occasional eerie tale. One night, I asked her for a scary story. She hesitated, then glanced towards the window. There's something in the woods, she whispered. Every 7 years, it comes out, a creature, twisted like a man, crawling on all fours, covered in eyes. It looks for open windows. If it finds one, it takes you. Before leaving, she checked the lock on my window. When I asked if she had ever seen it, she didn't answer. I barely slept that night. Years passed, Grandma died, and life moved on. Her story faded until one night in my own house, around 3 a.m. A tapping sound woke me. I looked at my window. Something was there. A tall shape pressed against the glass, its body barely visible in the dark, but its head, it moved. Dozens of small, blinking eyes scanned the room. The window began to slide open. Panic took over. I grabbed a bat and swung as it forced its way inside. It didn't make a sound. Even when I hit it, it just kept coming. I barely escaped, running downstairs. Then the front door cracked open. My mom had just came home. Before I could warn her, a long, clawed limb shot out of the darkness and grabbed her, dragging her screaming into the woods. She was gone in seconds. No one believed me. The police searched, but found nothing. Now, I sit in my room, staring at the window. There's a massive handprint on the outside of the glass, and I finally understood Grandma wasn't telling a story. She was warning me. That one's alright. That was I. The other day I was telling nothing but paranormal stories, but like real paranormal stories. These are more like just stories. They sound like campfire stories. Yeah, buddy. Also, before I forget, don't forget to visit mentormysteps.org. It's a it's a nonprofit organization aimed to help out young men who need mentors. They help out with life mentorship and also with like teaching you sports and business entrepreneurship and different skills. So yeah, that's mentormysteps.org if you'd like to become a mentor or a volunteer or would like to be mentored or to send in a donation, that's mentormysteps.org. So yeah, I got this other, I don't, it's not a paranormal, it's just a, like a campfire scary story, I think. It was pouring rain outside. Hold up. It was pouring rain outside, and Scott had left his umbrella at home. After a long, exhausting day at school, all he wanted was to get back. His mother was making her famous beet soup, the same one she'd made for him since he was a child. Through the thick fog, his house slowly came into view. He broke into a sprint, rain soaking through his clothes as he rushed toward the front door. Halfway there, he paused to catch his breath, then pushed himself the rest of the way. Reaching the porch, he exhaled in relief, grateful to be out of the storm. The door was unlocked. Scott didn't think twice. He stepped inside, dropping his bag beside him. The house was quiet. Ahead lay the dining room with a long, dark corridor stretching beyond it. The lights were off and the soup sat on the table, untouched and cold. "Mom? Hello?" He called into the darkness. From the corridor, his mother emerged, or something that looked like her. She appeared terribly ill, her skin pale, foam dripping from her mouth. "Mom, are you okay?" "Don't kill me, please," she said, her voice rapt and unnatural like a broken record. Scott froze. He couldn't see her eyes clearly, but he knew they weren't hers. A sickening realization settled in. Whatever stood before him, it wasn't his mother. "Don't kill me, please," it repeated. Acting on instinct, Scott grabbed his bag and hurled it at the figure. It struck its face, and then the illusion tore away. His mother's face peeled off, revealing a blood-soaked creature beneath, its mouth lined with rows of jagged teeth. The thing lunged. It slammed Scott into the ground, forcing him onto his stomach with a single long, unnatural claw. It began slicing into his spine. Strangely, he felt little pain, but terror flooded his mind as he realized what it was doing. peeling him apart, summoning what little strength he had left. Scott twisted onto his back and started up at himself, and I don't know, that was kind of badly written right there. Mom, hello? The creature asked, now wearing his face. Yeah, this story was like a little badly written and didn't really have a good ending. What up, y'all? What's going on? It's 12:30 a.m. where I'm at. What time is it where you're at? Do y'all like scary stories? What kind of, do y'all like paranormal? Aliens? What do y'all like? I want to hear some rain. Yeah. So yeah, I read like scary stories, paranormal stories, and creepy nightmare. I think this one's like alright. About 10 years ago, when I was in my mid-teens, I was going through that typical moody, short-tempered phase. I lived with my parents on 5 wooded, secluded acres and kept chickens for eggs. Every night I had to go out after dark to lock them up, and I hated it. There was always that uneasy feeling like something unseen was watching from the trees. My dog used to come with me, but as he got older, I started leaving him inside so he wouldn't risk getting hurt in the dark. Still, those walks alone never got easier. One night stood out more than the rest. I had just finished locking the coop when a sudden, overwhelming urge hit me. Run. No hesitation, no reason, just pure instinct. I turned and sprinted toward the house without looking back. As I ran, I heard it. rustling in the bushes, something moving, and a faint jiggling sound echoing from the woods. I didn't stop until I was inside, locked the door, checked it twice, then made sure my dog was inside. He was, but something was off. He was tense, restless, more alert than I'd ever seen him. A little while later, it happened. It sounded like a herd of horses, full speed, galloping right past the house. Loud, fast, close. It made no sense. It was mid-autumn, not even that late, maybe 8 or 8:30 p.m. I flipped on the outside light and looked out, expecting to see something, but nothing. No horses, no movement, just stillness. The next morning I checked the yard, no hoof prints, no torn grass, no sign that anything had passed through at all. My dog stayed on edge the entire night, refusing to even go outside. After that, things got worse. I started having intense nightmares, dreams where something was attacking me, and episodes of sleep paralysis where I'd wake up unable to move, convinced something was in the room. I had a few other strange experiences since then, but nothing ever came close to that night. Whatever I heard out there, I still don't have an explanation for. I've had experiences like that where I was in a trailer with a cousin of mine, and he heard like a bunch of wolves outside of the house. I mean, outside of the trailer, and I didn't hear anything, but I felt weird things in the trailer. Like I literally felt something tugging at me, pulling me. So I don't know. I kind of believe that. Manifestation or something. Spiritual thing. Yeah, boy. So yeah, yeah, let me know if you have any creepy stories of your own. I could read them out loud now or next time I go live. But don't forget to visit mentormysteps.org. It's a nonprofit aimed to help young men develop into strong young men. That's mentormysteps.org. You could go on there and give a donation or sign up to be mentored or to become a mentor or volunteer at one of our events. So yeah, that's mentormysteps.org. Ooh, I'm out of coffee. I'm out of coffee, man. I think I have one more story to read. All right, I got this Short, scary story. I worked at a small hospital, barely 40 beds, but it had been standing for decades, long enough to gather its share of stories. Down in the basement sat the old, unused morgue. There was a single elevator that connected it to the main floor, opening just outside the nurse's station. Every so often, usually in the middle of the night, the elevator would rise on its own. The doors would slide open with no one inside. And without fail, the staff would exchange uneasy looks before going to check if a patient had just passed. One night, a few coworkers and I were sitting at the nurse's station when we heard a television suddenly blast to life down the short hallway to our right. The volume was cranked all the way up, loud enough to echo off the walls. Two of us got up to shut it off. We checked every open room along the hall. Nothing. No patients, no TVs on. That left only one door, a room sealed off by maintenance, marked with "Do Not Enter" signs. Reluctantly, we opened it. Inside the room was completely empty except for a single television, flickering and roaring at full volume. I stepped in, switched it off, and without really thinking, said out loud, "Stop that. That's a sick baby next door who needs to sleep. Please be quiet." Then I walked out and shut the door. After that, the TV never came on again. Yeah, I've heard of stories like that. Like in the hospitals where the equipment goes haywire, like in old hospitals. Here in where I live. Yeah, there's typically a lot of like paranormal activity in hospitals. It's pretty usual. Alrighty, y'all. Please hit the subscribe and the like button, and don't forget to visit mentormysteps.org. And I'll see y'all soon. Take care. Bye bye.